and then let's actually set our skills. So first of all, what's good about this game compared to Diablo 2 is, wow, like we could actually command our pets to do stuff instead of it being strictly AI controlled. So first of all, let's raise our skeletons. And the raised skeletons in this game, you get 3 skeletons, right, per cast. So if you are able to raise, say, 5 skeletons, you're gonna have to cast raised skeletons twice to be able to get them. And as you can see, we can zoom in. We got our 3 skeletons. These guys are random. As we level up our skill here, raised skeletons, they have a higher percentage chance to actually be different classes. So you got archers, you got your arcanist, which is your mage, and then we've got our melee characters, and then there's a 4th one, but I forget what it is. I forget what the actual title of it is, but I think the way you level it up, if you max it out, you have a higher chance of getting, I think, the archers and the mages, which are some of the better ones. So as you can tell, I'm using my first skill here, pet attack. So if I say hover the cursor over here and press it, they all go over there. That is so fucking awesome. I'm so excited about that. I think it's such a great thing to have. When we do actually start getting some lore items, they're going to be like little pieces of paper in our inventory, and you always want to read them because you get experience for reading them. And for whatever reason, our skeletons don't appear here as like a pet necessarily, like over here. Like once we get like blight fiends and everything else, they'll actually appear over here like a proper pet. For whatever reason, they're down here. And I don't know if it's just because there's multiples of them and they couldn't fit, like, you know, properly over here, or what. I just don't get it, because they still count as a pet. Just their placement is a little wonky. I am planning on doing like a ranged build, by the way, and I have like some pretty good ideas in my head that I feel like is going to let my build kind of stand out compared to some of the other archetypical builds that you can find on the official forums or whatever. Okay, so we're getting some of our first rare items here. These ones are kind of like semi-unique items because they're always going to be here. They're always going to be named. Like, they obviously correspond to definitely something that's, you know, permanently in the game. I feel like these are more like unique items, but there's going to be a couple houses in the area that are going to have other rare items that are like this. We're just going to go ahead and equip it right now. I'm not going to go necessarily a two-handed build, but I'm definitely not going to be going a two-handed melee build. Okay, so now as you can see, right, you're looking at the minimap here, right? We're in the minimap, but then obviously we're going outside of the minimap. This game is filled with plenty of secrets like this. It's always good to pay attention to what you're doing. Pay attention to your surroundings, and don't be afraid of going off the off-beaten track. Detonation site. Looks like this path has been blocked off by some rocks. You can clear it out with some heavy explosives. The old abandoned mines around Old Arkovia are likely the best place to find those. It will take 2 dynamite to clear a path. Okay, so just out of curiosity, Old Arkovia, which is way over here, and it's going to be a while before we're going to be even anywhere around that area. I guess one problem that I have with this game is that when it comes to the world map, I really wish it was not like artistic looking like this. I really wish it was more of like an actual functional world map, because this is fairly ambiguous. What I'm trying to say though is I'd really like to be able to, say, place like a waypoint here, or like a note, a sticky or something, a map pin saying, hey, this is where the secret's at, so that way when we get up to Old Arkovia and we get the dynamite, I can easily come back over here and you know, remember to do this, because chances are I'm going to totally forget, or it's going to be in the back of my mind the entire time, and then we're going to get some dynamite, and then I'm going to be coming back to the beginning of the game where I think the thing is at and never be able to really find it. That would suck. I don't want to have to deal with that. If I just had like a map pin or, you know, some sort of marker that I could place. on an actual functional world map. Make a lot of sense. So I have to say that I'm like nowhere near an expert at this game. So if I'm making a mistake or if I'm doing something that just doesn't seem to make sense to you, take it easy. I consider myself, you know, pretty knowledgeable about the genre because I've been a long time Diablo player. Okay, so this right here, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the lore items that I mentioned before. This is the Harbor Master's log. So if we click it, it'll actually bring it up. We get a little bit of experience. Some of them are worth more. And it just basically gives you some flavor text. Like I said, I'm not going to actually read through all that. Because I just don't find it to be like an imperative thing that I need to do. Like, since it's just kind of flavor text, it doesn't really make sense that, you know, adding my commentary to actually read it aloud. It just doesn't really add anything to the, I think, to the overall, like, campaign. I guess if that makes sense. The other thing that I have to say about this game and playing a pet build that I don't really like is that anytime you level up your your skills, it desummons all of your pets, and you got to resummon them. It just I don't understand it. Okay, so there is one thing that I want to do here in this campaign with this character that I have not yet seen. I haven't seen anybody actually attempting to do this, but my whole mindset is to do a pretty standard pet build, right? And I want to maximize my pet. So if there's a skill that like bumps up pets, like I might actually want to go that route. Okay, so for instance, Bone Harvest. Bone Harvest is an actual just like magical spell. And it's a pretty good spell too, by the way. But I've seen a lot of builds that actually just pump like maybe one skill point or no more than just a few skill points into Bone Harvest until the point where they get all the way down here to Soul Harvest, where they pump all their skill points into, just to get the bonus to pets. Bonus to all pets, the flat vitality damage, and the plus 10% to all damage, all pet damage. I mean, it's pretty good. There's definitely incentive to doing it, but you have to invest a lot of skill points to just get that like little bit of a bonus. And what I'm wondering is it really worth it? And the other thing is like Bone Harvest, I was sitting there looking at and questioning the same thing. Is it really worth to basically buff this up to completely like max it out? Is it worth using? And the problem is like certain things just don't scale. Like this 3-second skill recharge, that doesn't scale at all. That stays flat throughout the board. So if you pump this all the way up to, what is it, level... Oh, we're not going to be able to see until we get our mastery up to level 5, which we can do right now. Oh, here we are. Okay, so it's got level 16. So even at level 16, this thing's always going to have a 3-second skill recharge. So it's what I'm trying to say is that you couldn't necessarily put it as a replacement to your main attack and just spam the hell out of it. It's also expensive. So I'm thinking like the only way to make this skill actually work as a spammable like default attack is to basically completely focus on cooldown reduction equipment and either like some kind of like mana leech or like some kind of like mana regen, like some like massive mana regen kind of thing. And I feel like you actually have to like invest a lot of your gear decisions based upon that. And that's why I don't think Bone Harvest is going to work for my build. I don't think it's going to work. I don't think it's going to play nicely with a pet build, because you're going to be using this shit all the time. And since you're going to be focusing on cooldown reduction and mana regen or mana leech or whatever, you're not going to be able to focus really predominantly on like +2 pet bonuses, unless of course you happen to get like the godly gear that has both. So I don't think I'm going to go that route. Long story short, I think I'm actually going to want to focus on a single attack melee build or melee skill like Reaping Strike. I'm not certain how in the later game this is actually going to be viable or not, because we're going to end up having to do like, I know, a lot of kiting and a lot of like min-maxing and a lot of micro. And I don't know how viable like just regular default attacks with Reaping Strike would actually be worth our time. I don't know. We're going to have to wait. I was going to wait until we actually maybe even chose our secondary class, which is probably going to be Inquisitor. Or not Inquisitor, Occultist. So here's another one of these rare items that I was talking about. There is a rare one-handed gun in one of these houses that I'm actually trying to find. And I swear to God, we actually, I thought there was a fourth house that actually gave you a rare two-handed firearm, but I could be wrong. We do actually have all the, like, the newbie, like, tutorials on, so every time we do something new in the game, we get the little pop-up up here. I guess that's just to everybody's benefit to take a look at anyways. Okay, so anyways, we got this thing called Chilled Steel here. It comes in this, like, this orange font text. If you notice, it says partial component, 1 out of 3. So basically, if we find 2 more of these things, we can combine them to actually form just the item itself. And these things are just components that you can add to your gear. And you can do, I think, 1 component per piece of gear, right? Let's see here. And then it adds its definite bonuses. And there are, like, rare versions of these. Some of these things are definitely worth your time to actually put it in your gear. But I haven't really messed around with them too much. So we're going to leave them alone. And some of them are components for your gear, but at the same time, they're also, you know, quest related and whatnot. So you might want to be a little careful about how you use them, like, you know, as far as like using them for your equipment or whatnot. Also, I hate to say it, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm an elitist completist. So we're going to complete all of the maps. I'm going to wander around all of them so I can get rid of all of the fog and know what I'm doing in the game. I want the entire map filled out. Okay, so we got some better gloves here. Definitely want to equip them. We want the new trousers, the new boots. And then we do have a rare two-handed firearm here, which is precisely what I want, because I want to go ranged. So we'll just equip this two-handed sword on my secondary weapon slot. Not that I plan on using it or anything. We found a first scrap. We're going to want more than 6 to complete that one. Not only to fix the bridge, but there is another quest that I think that requires 3 scrap plus some money. And as far as like scraps use for like later game, whether or not it actually has any bearing on any other future quests, I have no idea. I'm gonna pretend like it is. All right, so you notice that I keep getting these like orange items that instantly get picked up. We actually have 2 different kind of like health bars here. If you notice the orange glow, that's what is considered our constitution or our stamina. Let's see here. I know it's got a specific name to it. I think it... Oh, it's in here somewhere. There's so many damn stats. Oh, shit. What is it called? No. Oh, phi. Here it is. Constitution. Constitution, that's what it's called. Okay, so the orange bar is called Constitution. Basically, what that does is it, like, regenerates your health. And then, the problem is that you only get so much of it. So every time it's used, so, like, for instance, if we go down to, like, half health, we're at 203 health. What the Constitution will do is it'll regenerate our health. And the longer it takes for the health bar to go up to full, the longer that this thing just constantly gets, you know, drugged down. And what this does is it'll go down and it'll stay there. And once it disappears, you're out of your SOL, right? The way to regenerate your constitution and your health is by picking up those health items. And sometimes, if you notice, we haven't picked one up yet, but there'll be a little like mini-map indicator for it. But there's like untouched meals that you can sometimes find in some of these abandoned buildings that'll like pretty much replenish all of your constitution. So we can like destroy like the barrels and pots and stuff. I'm just trying to keep my the camera actually scrolled in a little bit. Like sometimes if we're zoomed out, like you can see this guy, he's got like a little bit of a purple glow. We know that like something's up, but this one's got a yellow glow. This treasure chest over here, a strong box. Sometimes you'll actually see like a little sparkle, but they blend in so well with the environment that it's really easy to miss. So that's why it's better to like keep it zoomed in a little bit so you don't miss out on stuff like that. There you go. There's Francis's gun along with his note. So we'll read his note. And as far as the differences in damage values, I mean, there you have it. We have a reduction in damage per second, or DPS. So we're definitely not going to equip it. You know what? I would prefer to go one-handed guns with an offhand. Whether or not I want a shield or a magical offhand, I don't know. Probably magical offhand. Honestly. But right now, like, I think we're just, you know, in the early game, it doesn't really make much of a difference. So I think we're just going to try to go for the biggest boomstick we can get our hands on. Yeah, obviously the elixir of spirit regenerates your mana. Okay, if you notice, there's like a little sparkle over here. See that little sparkle where the human remains? Just another like barrel or rock or, you know, something in the environment you can interact with that actually gives you items. There's a problem in this game where, like, sometimes when the enemy dies, it makes like this like chink noise, and it always sounds like an item dropping, but it's totally not. Oh shit. I don't know what just happened. Oh man. I had no idea this was a thing. Hargate's Isle. We're in some like really late game shit here, aren't we? Wow, okay, so they're level 5. They're not like ridiculous. I don't think I've ever interacted with anything like that. That's very interesting to me. So actually, I mean, we're way down here. I don't see any islands besides this thing. I have no idea what the hell they were talking about, where that brought me. Okay, I guess there's technically some islands over here, but I mean, contextually, it just doesn't make sense. Whatever. That's nice to know. There's 2 different kind of secrets over here. I don't know if that was actually a secret or not. I think that's like something we're supposed to go to, or maybe it's like related to a side quest, perhaps. And I do have to say that I think the first 20 levels might be a little slow going and maybe a little boring to watch, because it's going to be fairly repetitive. I mean, it's not until like we get, you know, higher up into our skill trees where we're able to access a lot of different skills that I think we're going to be able to really start unlocking the full potential for this build for my character. Which unfortunately just goes with the territory, but, you know, it's worth mentioning. So far, we're having a pretty good day for streaming. It makes me feel really bad because my Guild Wars series always gets a bunch of views, and everybody seems to really respond to it very favorably, which is nice. It's really encouraging. I love that you guys are loving it, but it seems like every time I try to stream that game, YouTube just ain't having it. It just gives me the big old middle finger saying, hey man, you ain't gonna do shit today. You're gonna get pissed off and you're not gonna record anything because you're gonna get so mad. I just don't understand it. You know, for as much money as YouTube brings in, presumably for Google, I just don't understand how they can just let their service be what it is. It's truly astounding to me. You know, I could have swore we picked up some shoulder pads. And according to this, we didn't, because they would have been auto-equipped. Weird. Like, some of the draconian ways in which YouTube has been managed over, just even over the past, like, say 2 years, it's just mind-boggling to me. It truly baffles me. I just don't understand how they can let this huge like cash cow of a platform just go to shit. Same thing with Valve. Valve is another really good example of that. Like how they don't really want to like curate their own digital distribution platform. They're just like, ah, no, fuck it. The community can do it themselves. Like, why would you do that? Like, why? It just sounds so utterly nonsensical. All right, like I said, 1 point into race skeletons, 2 points into mastery, until we actually start bumping up some of the other skills. I'm not going to go with spectral binding. The reason why I'm not going to go with spectral binding, because I think it's fucking worthless. I think it's only good. It's not... all these bonuses that you get, this is like a personal aura. It's not for your pets. It doesn't affect your pets at all. It just affects your damage. And since we're not like going with my, you know, like as a straight up melee or weapon DPS build or something, like there's no point in me doing it. So as you can see, we had skeletons before, but because I upgraded the or upped the skill, it desummoned them. So that's why I started off with no skeletons there. Wait, there we go. There's a weapon rack. That's why it always pays to actually rotate your camera. There are some secrets in this game that you're going to absolutely positively need to rotate your camera to actually find. There are like some cave entrances that are like that. Okay, so as you can see here, if you can see in the mini-map, this symbol right here, untouched meal, as you can see, my constitution is a little low then from, you know, from previous damage that I've taken. So even though it's not full... Okay, so we got another component. All right, so let's zoom in. So there's our untouched meal. And it completely like regenerates, I think, all of our constitution. I mean, obviously there it did, but I'm saying that I think it just in general does 100% of your constitution. Okay, got a couple more like lore pages here. So we got the first entry. I'm hoping this actually comes out all right, that you guys are able to read this text. Because I am going to go through it a little slow for those people that actually do really want to read it. I feel like in some way, like I'm kind of preserving it, right? So that like, you know, I don't know, 10, 15 years, and assuming that YouTube's still around and, you know, all these videos are retained, that somebody that, you know, doesn't know what Grim Dawn is and really wants the full experience, at least they can come over to my page and get, you know, something that I think a lot of other people just kind of gloss over, just skip past. Okay, so what I'm saying about the secrets is that if we had the camera rotated like this, there might actually be a cave entrance right over here, and we wouldn't actually even see it unless we were, you know, had the correct camera angle. Now you don't have to be like really crazy with it and completely like check every little nook and cranny. I don't think you have to go like bonkers with it, but it is, you know, I think in your best interest to do it every once in a while, or at least do it in areas that, you know, potentially will have secrets like caves and whatnot. I mean, if it's going to be something that, you know, you could pretty commonly find, then I think it'd be worth your time, definitely, to rotate the camera. It's got some mutagenic ichor, another component. And this game has this auto-complete component. It's basically what it does is it'll stack them. So it doesn't... So if we picked up another mutagenic ichor, it'll just appear in my inventory in its own slot. It won't just auto-stack it. And basically what this button does is auto-stack them. And then if you have enough of them to complete one, it'll complete it. I'm not really a big fan of this game's like auto-sort, because it comes up with some really weird shit, like all of the time. If you see here the little orange thing, that's going to be our waypoint. It's just going to open up the next one. We're going to make a beeline for it, so we have access to it. As a matter of fact, I think it'd be worth our time to go back to town anyways to sell this stuff. Inventories can...
Come see what's left of my wares.
Kind of full here. We don't have access to our stash yet, and we won't until we complete this the main quest from the captain. Okay, so all the great items are going to be your norms. Don't need the grips. Now, as far as these guns go, I'm actually going to keep this stuff. I'm going to put it in my stash. Because they're technically... I mean, they're kind of unique items in some ways. Even though they're junk. Again, like, I don't know if I really want to do this. Because if I find, like, a bomb-ass offhand shield or just an offhand item in general, like, I'm definitely going to want to switch over to one-handed weapons. So, we're going to keep that around. I don't want to sell it. I think we should probably buy a basic belt. No, wait, that's a helmet. I would recommend when you buy items in the very beginning of the game here, like I'm doing, don't buy anything magical because you're not going to be able to afford it. And even if you could, don't buy it anyways because it's overpriced. Just buy your basic, like, gray gear. Unfortunately, he does not have a belt or a set of spalders. Oh, yeah, he does. Perfect. That was 89 iron bits. I'm going to say ducats or gold. Just FYI. Hope that doesn't bother anybody. He does have some scrap, but we don't have enough money for it. Alright, that's all I wanted to do.
Put it to good use.
I'd love to actually dump off the rest of that stuff in my stash, but like I said, we don't have access to it yet. Might have to take a break here in a second. I'm running out of my beverage. You know what? Hang on one second. I really want to make sure of something. Okay, I just want to make sure that, like, my my webcam was actually indeed placed in a good position, so it wasn't, like, blocking any vital information. It's always kind of funny to live stream a new game, you know, with your webcam, because you always got to play like hot potato with it. Always got to constantly move it around, because you never know, like, what's the most optimal placement for it. Because I never want it in a place where it's going to be blocking something. I was thinking about putting it down here at the bottom, but, you know, during, like, the cinematic sequences and whatnot, like, I didn't want it blocking subtitles. And I know putting it at the bottom tends to do that. We are going to find, like, some different factions and whatnot out here in the wild. So let's see here. Let's go through some of the other buttons. There is an actual item filter in this game. I'll show you that in a second. Okay, so we actually have an item filter in the game. It's not on right now. It's common. You can do just magic, magic plus, rare, epic, legendary. That's completely off. But if you don't do the auto loot, it, for whatever reason, if you completely have it off, it completely turns off the ability to even pick up items, which I don't understand. Over here is just toggling our mini-map. We want it as large as possible, obviously. Let's see here. We've got our faction window, and that's what I was going to hope to get into. Devil's Crossing, right now we have no influence points with them. And we definitely want to get some influence points in them. From what I've been told is that, or for at least from what I've read, is that maxing these out is a kind of a pain in the ass because you've got to grind and grind and grind. We'll kind of evaluate that as the time comes. But the point is that you really want to get your influence up with these different groups to a much higher value and have them actually like you and trust you and everything, because they'll have, like, vendors and whatnot, and those vendors will be able to sell you certain items based upon, like, what level influence you have with them. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that it affects, like, vendor prices and stuff too. And I'm sure it has something to do with, like, quests being tied to, like, whatever level you are. So there's that. And then not only that, but we'll get access to a lot of the other factions when we discover them out in the world. But that's all RNG based. Let's see here. We've got our codex window, which is basically like a FAQ kind of thing, a FAQ. But then we also have our quests here. These are going to be, I think, our completed quests. And then we have our codex here for the entries that we found, basically the lore sheets. And then these are our devotion shrines that we've cleared out. Let's see here. And then we've got our skill window, which we've already seen. This is going to be our character window. And I've been a bad boy because I have not been pumping any of my my attribute points into my actual attributes themselves. The reason why I don't do it is because when you go into do your skills, you're invariably going to be increasing your attributes anyways if you're going to be pumping skill points into your mastery. So that's why I skip doing it. Let's see here. This gives you your